Hello, Naples seniors. Thank you for tuning in to our Naples Seniors Network, where you can find information, ideas, advice, resources, and support to live your golden years with a healthy lifestyle. My name is Gonette Caparros, a full-time seniors residential specialist. In my 30-plus years working with seniors, first as a physical therapist in the Johns Hopkins system, then now as a full-time realtor here in Florida, I have encountered a lot of situations where seniors do not have any support system in their home to live safely. Today, we have our guest resource and advisor, Bruce Rosenblatt from Senior Housing Solutions. How are you, Bruce?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me today.
Great. Beautiful weather here. So tell me more what your company is and what is a senior housing advisor? What does that mean?
So let me tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do. I think that might help.
Okay.
So I also have been in the business for over 30 years. And so I've been in the senior housing business for, I think I'm going on my 31st year. And I have overseen a number of senior living communities across the country. In fact, I've overseen 75 different senior living communities in 14 different states.
Wow.
And so I'm well versed in the senior housing business. And about 12 years ago, I realized that people needed a resource that they could reach out to and someone to help them understand more about the senior house, what's out there with senior housing. So I realized that there was a, sort of a need that, people had, that people they were really confused about the different senior housing choices and which places fit their needs the best. And they didn't know where to turn. So many people went and picked a place out on their own without talking to an advisor. So 12 years ago, I formed my company, Senior Housing Solutions, and that's all that I do is I help people through the decision process of selecting a senior living community. I'm very familiar with all the different communities in this area, both in Collier and Lee counties, and I stay current with all of them. And so, the information that I have is extremely important because this is a big decision. Mm-hmm. And, moving somewhere and trying to select the right place. And the last thing you want to do is select the wrong place or select some place that might be in financial trouble or select a place that has a lot of staff turnover. And so I help people, navigate through that so they're not going to be making a big mistake. And that's what I do. It's a very personal business of mine. It's my company. I'm not a franchise. It's just me, and I'm very passionate about what I do. And I treat my clients like my family.
That's great.
I meet with them usually, in the comfort of their own home, so I can get to know who they are and what their lifestyle is like, and so we can talk about their budget and their health issues, and sort of help narrow down that process. And
so excuse me, how do you assess, like, because being my background as a physical therapist, I assess, like you said, the health situation, if they can walk, if they can bathe, if they can, like really driving to doctor's appointments, those are big things. So how do you make that assessment?
So, I'm not a nurse and I'm not a doctor, but, I've been doing this for such a long time that, through my experience, I'm able to ask certain questions. And, it's, people share what their medical situations are, and you can tell if somebody has cognitive issues or if they have, mobility issues, or and so you can really pretty much tell by either asking questions or meeting with people on a face-to-face. I don't do any type of quote assessment because that's really not my role. But I can through questions and through my observations, I am able to figure certain things out.
Very good. Yeah. So
And,
go
and
ahead.
there are times where, I have to bring in you know, a specialist, because sometimes there are things beyond my scope. And so there are times where, I might have to bring in a nurse or, a specialist to do their own assessment, especially on the cognitive levels, because sometimes it's hard for somebody to admit that, that they have some memory decline. So sometimes it's helpful to bring in a third party.
Okay, very good. So go ahead and explain how the process is so that, look, whoever watches this, they will know what to expect.
So as I said, it's a very personal thing that I do.
Mhm.
I meet with people typically in their homes, and right now with the whole COVID thing, sometimes we have to do the Zoom thing like we're doing today.
Mhm.
But I really like to meet people in their own homes, and I get to know who they are, and then from those conversations I can determine, we talk about budget, we talk about locations, we talk about demographics, and we talk about timing, and and based on all that information, I'm able to, and almost like a Rubik's cube, I'm able to intake all that information and turn the wheels on the cube in order to match them up with the appropriate communities. And
Oh,
so
okay.
and so then when I match them up with the different communities, and then we can, either schedule virtual tours for them, or schedule tours if the community is allowing it, and then kind of take that down the process of trying to narrow that process down. um, and so I want to help people, but I don't want, I'm just not going to say, go to this one place. I'd rather have people have a choice of different options.
Very good.
And so I want to give people options and choices, and through our conversations and based on my experiences, I'm able to say, hey, you're looking at, these 3 different places or these 4 different communities, and this is what I know about them.
Mhm.
And, so this community is, just open, and this community has had some troubles, or this community is doing really well, or this food's really good at this place. And so I know
Big
all of that.
thing.
And it's very important.
That's a big thing. Yeah. So that's great. So first you have an initial consultation, then you, based on what they have, it's your assessment, then they will know where you will know rather that where they are more appropriate. So now my question is, do you actually take them or do you allow them to go on their own, or do you take the time to take them to the different assisted living and assisted independent?
So it's a good question. So, pre-COVID, I would take people to different places. We would meet at the different communities. We would tour together,
Mm-hmm.
and so pre-COVID, we were able to do that. During the what's going on today, we're not able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and so the communities are pretty much not allowing tours, and so things are done more virtually.
Really?
And so the communities are, they have virtual tours, and then they're communicating. So I can schedule that for people today, um, and so I help facilitate all that. But as far as going on tours, unfortunately, right now we can't do that. But I normally I would, and it's really helpful because there are just questions that I would ask that the average consumer would not know to ask. And so there's this, because I've been doing this, and because I've been in the business for such a long time, there's just things that I know that I would want someone to ask during that tour. So what I do with my clients is I prep them. I'm like, so even though you can't go on the tours, I will say, well, when you're on it, when you're talking to the representative, these are some of the questions that you should ask. And so I'm prepping people to get the information that they should get. So I'm trying to help educate them. And then so then after people do that, I normally follow up with them and we talk about the pros and cons of the different communities. And so we, my job just isn't over by, by recommending some communities. I need to help people understand some of the differences, the different types of licenses, the financial impact of some of the communities. And so I help people understand some of that because it gets very confusing and a lot of information to take.
Do you help? Because in my experience, both in the two fields that I have, it's a big concern. Like people are thinking, oh, I have a reverse mortgage, or, oh, I really don't have, like I'm thinking if Medicare will be paying for that. Do you give advice as far as, like what resources they can have or where to turn, that sort of thing?
I do. I do. And, because I've been in this area for 28 years and I pretty much have this toolbox of people. And so I've gathered.
I saw your website. You should show your website. I mean, do you want me, because in your website, you have a lot of resources.
Yeah. So let me, I'll show you. So that's just how you reach me. But, so I have this toolbox of resources. And so, if somebody has questions about a reverse mortgage, I have somebody that is an expert in reverse mortgages that I would rather that person talk to. Or if someone has long-term care insurance, yes, I can help answer some preliminary questions about long-term care insurance. But, someone may want to have someone look at their policy and review their policy. Or if someone needs a realtor, or somebody needs, an attorney. I have this toolbox of people that I can reference to help people, which is what it's all about. So I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to be a resource for people, just as you are.
Okay. So this is a big question. When should someone consider a move to a senior living community? What's the criteria for? I'm already 57. I can be in a 55 and over, but I think I'm still healthy, so I'm staying. But when do I make a decision to, when it's time?
So that's a good question, and I have a saying that I'm probably going to try to trademark at some point. But I have a saying. It's actually on my car, and those people who know me always know that, Bruce always says this. And when I do presentations, I always say, hey, if there's one thing that you're going to remember from my presentation, it's this, that it's better to be 5 years too early rather than 5 minutes too late. And
correct. Yeah.
And so unfortunately, there are times where people wait too long. They wait for a crisis to occur to force them into a decision. And that's way too long. So I would say at 57, you got some time, but you want to plan, and you don't want to make you don't want to make a decision in a crisis mode. I was talking to a couple yesterday, and they're the husband's 82 and the wife is 75, and the husband has some medical issues, and the wife doesn't want to move right now, and so they're holding off their decision. And right now they have a lot of choices. And right now they could move together and they could find a community and make friends and enjoy their life, and that's really what they should do. But because of whatever denial, I guess, is probably the biggest thing, is that they don't realize that things are going to happen, that you're not going to do anything. And unfortunately, because I've been doing this for so long, I really know what's going to occur. Something medically is going to happen, probably to the husband, and now the wife is going to be by herself. And that means selling their home by herself, and that means moving somewhere by herself. And and then she will not have a plan for her health. And so it's definitely an issue out there because people wait too long. And I also think that people think that they're just gonna, they're living and they think they're just gonna die, and they're just not gonna wake up one morning. But in the reality, that's not what happens. And there are, assisted living and nursing homes that are filled with people who need care. And so people just don't die. They require care over a long period of time. And if you don't plan for that, not only is it financially devastating, it's emotionally, it's physical. And so, again, it's better to be 5 years too early rather than 5 minutes too late. And so when is the right time for a certain person? And that's usually, when I'm meeting with somebody, these are the things we talk about, because, these are the things we have to, get on the table about timing, because, it's definitely a challenge out there, and people, people do have their head in the sand, and they have this denial that nothing's ever going to happen to them, and that, they're
Well,
never going to need care, and that's not what happens.
well, the fact that somebody tries to reach out to you means that they are already thinking about their limitations. So they are actually open to that. And because of my so many years of experience working with seniors, I have seen that. And to be honest with you, like I already talked to my husband. I said, like independent living is actually fun, because when you're just no, honestly, it is. Because when you're just in your own home, you're stuck to whatever you can do. You do your own grocery shopping, you do everything, you do your own cleaning. In an independent living, if you're still active, you go to an independent living, oh my gosh, the people that I work with, oh, I can do this. I have tennis, I have swimming, I have card games, I have happy, oh my gosh, they are actually happy. So it's really, you live more comfortably, I think, when you go to an independent living with a lot of amenities, I have to say. Well, of course, and if you can afford that, but it's really, there's so many choices.
The other piece to that is that, when you have independent living and it's maintenance free,
Right.
and, because I know, a house, there's a lot of moving pieces of the house. There's always something you got to maintain in the house. And you got to sit around waiting for the repairman that says, I'm going to give you this 4-hour window. And they never show up during that 4-hour window. And so you're just sitting around waiting for these people. And so your whole life is sort of waiting around for a repairman. And versus if you're living in a maintenance-free community, you make one phone call, and it's, you don't even have to be there. You could be playing tennis. You could be playing, you could be bocce or whatever you're doing. So the maintenance-free aspect is very important. The social side of that, there is a direct correlation between loneliness, depression, and dementia. And so when people are by themselves and they're not socializing with people and they're not interacting with people, the onslaught of dementia is very prevalent. There's a lot of studies that have been done about that. So it is something that you really need to think about, and that's the communities, the senior living communities offer a lot where you can stay active, stay independent before you need to. I also wanted to say, as a realtor, I'm sure you would agree with this, that there are times where people say, I really want to sell my home before I move. And, there are, a want and a need are two different things. And sometimes people want to sell, but they don't financially need to sell. So, and as a realtor, I'm sure you would agree that, someone's home probably would sell faster without them being there. And so, sometimes I'm sure you show a home and there's medical devices and medicines everywhere, and it will not show at its best versus a home that is, probably staged a little bit and clean, and you can show at any point, so, again, this all comes back to timing.
Yeah, and then they can get more money out of it too. So, which they can use to pay for that, for the conveniences. Yeah.
So, the timing thing, some people have in their mind that my home will never sell if I'm not living there. And a lot of times your home will sell a lot faster if you're not living there, because you know, maybe the furniture is a little dated. Maybe,
Mhm.
you know, maybe there's, you know, it's not as clean as it could be. So, you know, so
Very
it is, again, comes back to timing. It comes back to having, you know, good heart-to-heart conversations about financially, can you afford to, you know, move somewhere and not sell, or do you really need to sell before you move? And you know, sometimes you do.
Very good. Wow, that's a lot of information, very valuable information. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up, and why don't you share your screen again so they know how to contact you, and then we, you know, that's a lot of great information. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Um,
239-595-0207, or just go to seniorhousingsolutions.net.
that is how you reach me, and thank
Yes.
you very much. And what, I just want to, there's a couple more things I just want to mention before I say goodbye.
Okay.
So everybody wants to know, you know, what do I charge for my
Oh, yes,
service?
yes. Okay, why don't
So,
we?
so my services are 100% free. So I don't charge for my services, and so I get paid on the back end from the different communities. But my services, when I meet with my clients, are 100% free. So free is good. Everybody loves free.
Yes,
Everybody loves free, and
yes.
you know, and you know, I would say someone's, you know, to tap into the knowledge that I have on the different options, and there's about 100 of them. People, it kind of amazes people that there are about 100 senior living communities in Collier and Lee counties, and to tap into my knowledge and what I know is, you know, for a free service. I don't know why anybody wouldn't use me. So,
Of course, very good. So then, once you have decided, then Bruce will call me to sell your home.
that's how it works.
Okay. And, you know, like I actually work with compassion because I have 30 plus years of experience. You know, I don't force people. I really work with them as patiently as you know, as you
You can
can
tell.
with
You can tell. You know,
compassion.
there's special people out there, and you can tell people are caring and passionate like yourself. So
So,
keep up the good work, and thank you very much for.
okay, we will be each other's resource. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.